My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Before Shopify, were you wondering, where are my sales at? Now you're selling with Shopify, the global commerce platform supercharging your selling. You have no problem selling online, in person, on social media, and beyond. Gary, easy on the cha-ching.
Oh, sorry, but my Shopify sales are through the roof.
Start selling with Shopify today and discover how millions of businesses around the world use Shopify to ignite their selling. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/listen. Shopify.com/listen.
So our podcast is called Right and Wrong.
Are these your notes?
These
These are your notes about what we're going to say?
Anything.
Nailed it.
Is the short answer.
So how many novels did you not finish?
Oh my God, so many.
It was perfect. What's she talking about? This is nonsense.
Ooh, a spicy question. I love it.
This is it, guys. The big secret to getting published is you have to write a good book. You heard it here first. Hello and welcome back to the Right and Wrong podcast. Today I'm lucky enough to be joined by the co-founders of I Am in Print, Elane and Sarah. Hi guys, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for coming on. Let's kick off straight away with I Am in Print. Which one of you does the best elevator pitch?
I would say Elane.
Oh, I knew it. I absolutely knew it. It would always be that. So we help writers work towards their dream of becoming published authors through a range of online and in-person services. How was that, Sarah? Did I pass?
Very good. Yes. Yes, that's our aim, really, just to, give as many people as many opportunities as we can, really. And we've done our best to try and create a platform where people can learn all about writing and publishing and literary agents and everything, really.
A community to unite all writers, published and unpublished, and enhance the lines of communication with agents and publishers.
Yes,
exactly
your own
that.
words.
Yes, exactly that. Yeah, we're building a writing community around the world. We meet so many amazing people and are privileged to share their stories, not just their stories that they hope to be in print, but their life stories as well. We get to know so many of them who come repeatedly to events that we're running or to have a one-to-one privately with an agent. So it's an honour, really, to share that journey with them.
Yeah. So you mentioned a bit there, events and agent one-to-ones. Is that kind of most of the range? I'm saying it as if that's not very much, when that's obviously a lot of things encompassed within that.
Yeah,
but is that's all the stuff, is it?
Yeah, someone asked me recently, so do you do this full time? Yes, we do, because actually it takes a really long time. In publishing, everything is really slow. People take a long time to get back to you. And not just because they're being rude or discourteous, but because publishing is so busy. So often you're inviting people to take part in something, agents, authors, publishers, and it does take quite a long time to build a program or put a schedule together. So yes, it's a full-time thing for us.
So let's start with the agent one-to-ones. That seemed to be the thing that was first up on the website when I went through the website. How long have you guys been setting up these one-to-one?
We started, I think it was back in 2019. We began I Am in Print by just interviewing authors, to try and get as much information out of them as possible about how they got published. And we were contacted by someone who was unable to get out of the house because of a disability and was unable to go to writing festivals where you could do agent one-to-ones in person. And they basically said, is there anything you can do to help get these online? And we went away, we kind of looked at different platforms and things and worked out how we could do it. And we had it up and running within about 3 weeks, I think.
Yes.
And we managed to have, I think there were about 6 agents that we worked with at the beginning, wasn't there? We used to do like one set of 6 sessions a month.
Yes.
And gradually it's just grown and grown. And we've done like big weekends. And now we do them pretty much every week, don't we?
Yeah, we do. So we began I'm Imprint in 2018. So that was May 2018. We had the idea. And as Sarah said, the one-to-one started pretty much a year later. So we were broadcasters before we facilitated the one-to-ones.
Okay.
And in 2019, just in that 6 months from June to December, we did around 40 to 50 agent one-to-one sessions. And now,
that's a lot.
We can do that. Well, it does sound a lot, but it isn't really. Now we're doing pretty much that every month. So, and then the quarterly weekends as well, where we can do sort of up to 90 in a weekend, where we're working flat out across the weekend. So, yeah.
It was quite funny, actually. We decided to do an agent one-to-one weekend, the first one ever, because there were a lot of teachers and people that worked in the week that could only make weekend appointments. Mm-hmm. So we put together a big schedule. I can't remember how many we had, maybe 16 agents from the Friday to the Monday, set it all up. And we used to do everything by hand back then. So we set up the payment system and everything on the website and launched it. And I actually went out for a walk, didn't I, Elane?
Jamie, she went for a walk. She pressed go live manually, and I'm sat there manually replying to people and manually having to take down the slot on the website so that it's no longer showing. And she disappeared, Jamie, for about 2 hours, thinking, oh, well, hardly anyone to buy a ticket. And I'm texting her saying, can you just come back? Because this is crazy. They sold out so fast that first weekend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
It was just totally unexpected. I mean, I had a lovely walk, Jamie. I did.
Well, that's wonderful. Your mental health was at an all-time high.
Yeah, hers was.
But we just never expected that, there would be such a demand for them, to be honest, in the beginning. It was quite a surprise. So we've learned from that experience, and now we've automated a lot of what we do to make it easier and not so labour intensive for us.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So you're doing them almost weekly now. If for people wanting to apply, getting an agent one-to-one, what are the steps? What do they need to have prepared to submit, etc., etc.?
So it's good to do some research, I guess, first. Find out which agent best fits your genre, look at what authors they represent, and see if it's a good fit for you, really, and what you've written. We've had a lot of people, we would say to have their manuscript finished, but recently we've had a lot of people request to do the agent one-to-ones that are just at the beginning of their writing, and they just want to chat to an agent just to kind of run their idea past them to see if it would be worth actually spending the time writing the book. So that's happened quite a lot recently. So you don't necessarily have to have your manuscript ready to be able to do a one-to-one. A lot of agents have been happy just to have a chat with people about their ideas as well. Yeah.
I mean, I had a one-to-one a long time ago, and whilst I did have a manuscript and it was talked about, to be honest, when I look back at it, the things that I learned from that weren't necessarily to do with my writing. I ended up abandoning that, or shelving, let's say. Never say never, right? Mm-hmm. But that piece for a while. So I fully understand, like, just speaking to an agent is such a valuable asset for any writer, no matter what stage they're at in their career.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, from a point of view of the market, I think that's the most probably the most valuable aspect that a writer will get out of it, because the market changes so quickly. So years ago, vampires were in, for example, and then after the success of Twilight, they went out, and then publishers were no longer wanting to purchase books about vampires. But now that sort of trend is coming back in again. So if you're writing something, it's quite important to know whether that trend is in at that moment, because if you're getting standard rejections on a regular basis, it might just be that the industry isn't ready for that now or again, so it's all about timing, I think, and just getting yourself in front of an agent will help with that. It will also help, importantly, with your cover letter. Lots of agents receive up to 100 manuscripts a week to have a look through, and we've been told by agents, with the best will in the world, they don't have time to read things in depth. So if your cover letter doesn't look spot on in terms of format, flatter the agent as much as you can. They are human, and they do like to know that you've done, as Sarah said, your research on them, and that you're putting comparisons in that will be familiar to them. So make sure that you have your cover letter looking really accurate, and an agent can really help with that, which will boost you up their pile of reading in a sort of a tremendous way, which you wouldn't get if you didn't get that advice from them. And of course, if you're just sending out blindly to an agency, you're not going to receive that feedback. So sitting in front of them is really valuable, we think.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, agents are so knowledgeable about the industry. It's so tied in with their job. So they do have to be. And they're all, like you mentioned, they are human and they're all unique people. So the agents that I've had on this podcast, they often approach submissions and writing and how they kind of view manuscripts in a very different way. So it is, as you say, very important to not only research agents in a broad sense, but to actually look at individual agents to craft what would be the best possible cover and submission for that individual agent.
Definitely. I mean, they're also subjective as well. I mean, like you said, you wrote something and had an agent one-to-one. And that's basically how Elane and I started. We tried writing a book and we had several one-to-ones before we set up I Am Imprint.
With mixed reactions, Sarah, it's fair to say. So we remember we used to go to Winchester Writers Festival as it was, and we went 4 years in a row, I think, and we took our little middle grade fantasy adventure along, thinking that we'd written the great thing, and we'd sit in front of an agent. So instead of a one-to-one, we'd have a sort of 2-to-1, because there was 2 of us writing, which was quite unusual, and we used to give the organizer, Sarah Gangai, a little bit of a headache, probably, in that she had to fit 2 of us in. But we'd sit there, and you'd sit down in front of an agent, and 2 of them might like it, and then 2 of them might not at all. And you'd come away completely conflicted. So we always say to people now, just write the book, ultimately, that you want to write. So take all the industry and the market advice from the agent, because that is, as you said, Jamie, they're at the top of their game, so they know all of that, but it's subjective, and ultimately you want to write and put your best heart and feelings into your book and to bring the best out of it. So if an agent is telling you to change it from first person to third person, give it a try, but if it doesn't feel right, ultimately go back to where you were with it, because another agent might love it that way.
Yeah, true. And a publisher might love it that way.
Absolutely.
You never know with these things.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that Elane and I have had that experience of doing the one-to-ones ourselves, because then we know, what it's like to be in that position, to be in front of an agent. I mean, one of the festivals we went to, honestly, we had a first agent one-to-one, and they didn't like the idea at all, basically. And when we, to be polite, when we came out, we couldn't look at each other. We couldn't even look at each other. No, we drove home in absolute stony silence, I remember, and we just put our manuscript away for about 3 or 4 weeks and didn't touch it at all. And until we found the confidence to think, okay, well, why don't we try this? And so we picked it up and tried again. And then we sort of found our way back into it. But it's so easy to take something to heart
because you're sitting in front of these people and you're pinning so many hopes on them liking it, and we know exactly what that feels like. So we have a lot of first time people coming into the room to see an agent, and you can tell they're so nervous, and they say, "Oh, I'm really nervous about meeting this person." We say, "Look, as you've said, they're human, and they're lovely." Now we are on the other side of the fence. It's easy for us to say, but now we know them in a professional capacity. They are all super lovely, but we know what it's like to sit there in fear.
Yeah. And also, it's easy to forget that agents can also be nervous a lot of the time when they're meeting authors and being pitched to and being submitted to.
Yes,
because they don't want to reject people.
No, not at all. And in fact, we've interviewed lots of people, but a few agents that we've interviewed have told us that they don't like letting people down when they have to reply to say, "Thanks for sending in your full manuscript, but actually on reflection, it isn't for me." That pains them. It isn't an easy decision for them to make. And they are willing you on to get the best out of your story. So sometimes it's not an easy decision for them at all.
Yes, indeed. And so for anyone listening, if you are thinking about looking into agent one-to-ones, make sure you do your research. And a lot of the agents that you guys work with have actually been on this podcast.
Yes,
so if anyone listening has heard any of the agents on this podcast, do have a look on the I Am Imprint website to see if they've popped up. I did see that Diana Beaumont and Lydia Silva are both doing stuff with you guys in January.
Yes.
But I think they're also both booked up.
They are.
Yeah, they're always very popular. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Booked up very quickly. How far in advance do you put up the agents for the months?
Usually about 3 months in advance. So we give people sort of a good 3 months. And importantly, we do let our subscribers know first. So we will always be loyal to the people that have chosen to give us their email address in exchange for us sending them information about what's coming up. So those people will always find out first. And honestly, they are waiting. I remember this was back in the manual days. We had to set it going live at 10 o'clock, and we promised our audience we were going to make it go live the weekend at 10 o'clock. And there was somebody, we were in a meeting, I think, Sarah, weren't we? And the meeting ran over by a couple of minutes, and we had an email from someone who was in Australia sitting up waiting for us to press go live.
Yeah, it's like trying to get Coldplay tickets sometimes, Jamie. It just goes crazy with certain agents and their slots. Some agents, their slots sell out within half an hour.
Yes, yeah. I have spoken a lot with the team over at Right Mentor, and when they do agent one-to-ones, they said it's exactly the same thing. They sell out in minutes.
Yeah.
Such a popular phenomenon.
It is. I guess just getting that time with the agent is just so valuable, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the agent one-to-ones. Outside of that, you guys also do events. What kind of events are they? What should people expect if they wanted to attend your events?
So we began back in, I think it was
October,
just before lockdown. It was February 2020.
I thought you were talking about the beginning. We started in we had the idea in May 2018, but our first broadcast was 2018, wasn't it? And so we were broadcasting to start with before we started the events themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. But we thought we'd have a go at doing a live picture book writing day. So our first event was back in 2020, just before lockdown in February, with David Litchfield, the picture book author, and Arabella Stein from the Bright Agency, and
Katie Cotton, his publisher.
Katie Cotton as well, yeah. And we did a lovely day event up in London. And then I think 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, the lockdown hit. So yeah, we had all these plans for all these other, physical events, but we basically had to move everything online. And then we kind of started organising day events like how to get published or how to write romance.
Spooky fiction was another one. That was a great day.
Yeah. And we just kind of contacted authors and agents and publishing professionals, and they all kind of come along and do like an hour slot, and it's all live on screen, so you can see them and you can see us, and people in the chat can ask as many questions as they want, and then there's replays as well. So we've done quite a few of those events, haven't we?
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Elane.
Yes, we have. And they've been really great fun. I mean, they're not at all stressful, Jamie, as you can imagine, when you're going back to back in a live session on screen. And by the end of it, you're starting to look a little bit red-cheeked. But they are a lot of fun. I think the last one that we did online was how to write crime thriller. And we interviewed 11 people that day. From 9 o'clock in the morning until around, I think it was 8 o'clock at night. So it was a long, long day. But It was brilliant because we had people from all over the world tuning in to sit in front of these amazing, inspirational people and learn. And quite a few of them stayed with us throughout the day. You kept seeing their names popping up in the chat, which was lovely. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun. And then we were asked in, I think it was November, so about a year ago, November 2021, we were approached by the aforementioned Sarah Gangai, who was previously organising the Winchester Writers' Festival. And she was stepping down and asked if we would like to take it over. So we thought, how difficult can this really be? And we decided after a couple of meetings that we'd give it a go, and we took it over, and it was a lot more difficult than we could ever possibly have imagined, but we ran the event in June this year, and after we'd taken some time in a dark room to recover, we thought, yeah, that wasn't too bad after all, was it? It was a bit of a success. So yeah,
it was quite funny, actually, wasn't it? That Elane was actually, I think you were at Wookie Hole, weren't you? Or the Cheddar Cave or something.
That's right. I was, inside a cave.
Yeah. When we got the original email, and I'm desperately trying to get hold of Elane to say, do you think we can actually do this? It's quite funny how these things happen. But it was an amazing event. It was so much fun on the day, and just to meet everyone and all the lovely authors and workshop hosts that came.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. I mean, we were totally exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, we were.
I can imagine. Yeah.
It was. It's a very stressful time. Well, the thing is, and I think people don't realise this necessarily, but when you're running something like that, there are so many things you have to learn. And we had to learn everything really quickly. We had 2 months to learn a whole host of platforms that we'd never used before in terms of how we take people's bookings, and how we facilitate competitions and manage those. There was all sorts of things, and we only had 2 months to learn them. And then we had 2 months to sell tickets, which was not long at all. So we were quite pleased in the end that even a few people turned up. We couldn't believe that we had quite a lot of people come and have a lovely time, and that the agents and authors said yes, that they'd come along. So that's always a lovely experience.
Well, I'm glad you guys survived your trial by fire.
We did. Yeah.
We did a virtual festival as part of it as well, and with hindsight, everything was too close together, wasn't it? And possibly if we had replicated it in the future, we would have spaced it out a bit more, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've got any events coming up?
Ooh, now there's the question. we may have just secured some dates. We asked our audience on our social platforms about cities around the country that they'd like to see an I Am in Print event taking place, and we've listened to the responses, and we will be announcing that we are hosting another I Am Writing Festival in Bristol in May. So that will be happening.
Okay. Very
and
exciting.
there may be another event happening later in the year in the Midlands, yet to be confirmed. So yeah, we decided that instead of just doing one, Jamie, why not do two? We thought. So that's what we're going to do next year. So we'll start with Bristol in May and see how we get on.
Okay, great. Well, that's really exciting. Good to see that you guys are officially out of lockdown and ready to start doing big events again.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
We've got the 19th and the 20th of May secured. So hopefully we've done our best to make sure it doesn't conflict with anything else, but it's really hard actually to find a date in the year that, hasn't got so much other things going on. And people will be able to buy a day ticket or a 2-day ticket. And we hope that there will be lots of agent one-to-ones in person available as well.
Amazing. That sounds great.
Yeah, keynote speakers and workshops and different things going on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So outside that's, a lot of the stuff that you guys do, it's all really great stuff, the one-to-ones, the events. You guys have known each other since you were very young, back in the school days.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
since permed hair was in, actually, a long time ago.
And it was around 2014 that you decided to co-write a book together?
Yes,
yeah,
I think it must have been.
I had my son must have been about 2 then. And Elane, you probably just had your son, didn't you?
I was probably pregnant at the time, and Sarah came up with this fantastic idea to keep us connected because she was living in New Zealand, that we should write a book together. Just for our sanity, really, because you do lose your mind a little bit when you've got all these maternal hormones flying around. So we started to write, and we used a cloud platform to host what we were writing, and it was fun, wasn't it? We used to look forward to going and logging in.
Yeah. Because of the time difference, I would log in, do some writing, send it off to Elane, and then when Elane woke up, she would get it. And
great!
And then she'd send it back to me, so that when I woke up again, there'd be some more there. It was
just
like
in constant rotation.
Yeah,
that's amazing. So what's happening with that now? What's happening with both of your writings?
Absolutely nothing. The reason being that we don't have the time.
Okay.
As well as all the physical events, we're actually about to launch an online membership, because online is where we started. So as much as we love to get out and meet people, those events are the best place to go and learn and meet your writing tribe. 100%, always it's going to be a physical event. But we are conscious that there are people around the world who can't get to these events that are happening in cities in the UK. There are people, as we mentioned earlier, that perhaps have a disability or on really low income. They can't travel. So we want to make this as accessible as we can. So we are going to be launching a membership program, which will spark off in the new year, January 2023. And we'll have
you guys lots in the work.
Yes. So lots of content there, so people can log in at different times of the day and take part in a live session. We've got Ask the Agent sessions lined up, pitch parties, authors coming to give talks on how to build a website, or how to build your world in your book, or how to write an opening chapter. All sorts of amazing people who've again said yes, we can't believe our luck, but we're going to be working with them quite regularly to hold these online sessions, and people will be able to watch them throughout the month on a replay, and just take part, get involved. There'll be a writing community as well online, so people can chat to each other and share their writing experiences and critique each other's work as well. It's important as a writer, as you know, that you have to have a group around you that's supportive and keeps you going.
Indeed, it is extremely important. But I mean, all sounds great. You guys are doing really great stuff and providing such a great community and support system for writers. I'm only a little bit sad that you guys are so ingrained in publishing now, and you're not writing. You're not having the time to write anymore.
I know. Do you know those characters tap me on the shoulder every so often?
Yeah.
Excuse me, remember us? You left us down a hole.
Yeah. Honestly, they really we do say to each other fairly often, we need to get back to that world that we've created and chat to those characters again, because they did used to make us laugh, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that must be the reason that you guys started this whole project in the first place.
Yes. I mean, to be honest, we had plans to set up a virtual admin company.
Okay.
And we went to a exhibition in London just to kind of try and meet some contacts and things. And it was all about videos, video content. And that's kind of how the idea came to us.
Yeah.
We came home on the train thinking, oh my God, we should do, author events online.
Yeah.
And that's where the idea came from, really.
Yes.
And then it was a big decision whether to... We went to the Winchester Writing Festival and had some one-to-ones with agents. And we did have a couple of full manuscript requests, but we knew the book wasn't ready. So we had to go away and make the tough decision. Do we carry on with the book, or do we focus on setting this business up? And that's what we did. We set the business up. And that's why the book is in a drawer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The poor book. One day we'll see it.
Yeah, we hope so. It is fun. I mean, it's a little bit wacky, but then that's kind of a little bit of our style, I think, there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's big in MG, right? We love wacky stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, that brings us to what is always the final question of each episode. And we'll go one at a time here. So starting with Elane. If you were stranded on a desert island with a single book, which book would you take?
This is I'm sure you hear this every time you ask it. This is such a difficult question to answer, because there are so many genres that I read. So I'll turn to non-fiction if I want a little bit of a mental health boost or a kick to say, come on, get on with things, or I'll turn to a piece of literary fiction for beautiful writing that I can immerse myself in. It's just really difficult. Or children's picture books. I loved reading those with my son. I think, though, I'm going to have to say a book that really impacted me, and it was a book that was written by an author called Mitch Albom, an American writer. And he wrote a book called The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. And I was at university. I was about 35, I think. I was a bit of a late developer. I went to university in my 30s. And I decided that I'd read this book that was recommended to me. And it was just one of the most beautiful pieces of writing that I'd read. So, I found it really a fantastic sort of escape, if you like. It was about someone that passes away and then is shown 5 people whose lives they've impacted during their own life. And it just really made me think about how we impact people around us, even with a single sentence or with a glance, and how we can be different, how we can perhaps be kinder in life, how we can have more of an impact on others with just little nuances or kind gestures that we do. And so I would think I would take that one because it's an enjoyable read, but it's also a thought-provoking one too.
Yeah, what a lovely concept. It's very uplifting.
Yeah, it really
Wholesome.
is. It really is.
And what about you, Sarah? Which book would you take?
So I guess I tend to read more non-fiction than fiction. I mean, obviously, when we interview authors and things like that, then I'll read their books. And it's often the saying, isn't it, that the best book that you've ever read is the one that you've just read. But
sometimes.
Yeah. But I think a book that I constantly go back to because I think I haven't grasped it yet is The Secret from Rhonda Byrne, I think you say her surname. And it's all about, the law of attraction and your thoughts create your reality. And I read this book when it first came out. I don't know how popular it was over here in England, because I think I was living in New Zealand at the time, but it was massive over there. And it's a kind of like a film or documentary as well. And then I forgot about it. And it was actually when we went to the Business Expo, when we first were going to set up I Am in Print, that there was a speaker there that actually mentioned The Secret again. And honestly, it was just like a light bulb moment. And I thought, oh my God, yes, I need to read that book again. So it's just a book that you can dip in and out of and try and, refresh your memory about how to try your best to think positive thoughts and to notice when you think negatively, and to try and push those negative thoughts to the side and just concentrate on everything that you're grateful for.
That sounds great. You two are going to be on Ireland with the greatest mental health and just meditative atmosphere, I think, of anyone.
I think after the festival this year, we did go through a bit of a dip, I suppose. We were exhausted, and we've both taken some time listening to some great podcasts and reading some great books. And just, I think as writers, this is great advice that we've been given by different agents and so on. But you just need to look after yourself as a writer. You get so much rejection. You're often working on your own. We work, all right, we have meetings pretty much every day on screen, but we're working in isolation for the most part of the day. It's important to look after yourself, to look after your mental and your physical health. We've both joined the gym recently. That has really helped our endorphins tremendously. Or Sarah goes for a walk, obviously, when it's busy.
When it's busiest.
When it's busiest, yeah, exactly. When we launch the online program, that's where she'll be, on a walk.
I'll be off.
So yeah, we're both really very much into addressing our work-life balance, and we don't always get it right. We've got children, we're trying to do all the things, but we're trying, I think, to keep ourselves in check and keep ourselves on track. So, yeah.
And the great thing about being us, and having our friendship is we can keep each other going,
Yeah.
If somebody's having a bad day, hopefully we can do our best to try and help. And we motivate each other, we keep each other going on a daily basis.
I think so too. Although Jamie, she does usually tell people that she's been trying to get rid of me since we were 11, when we were forced to sit next to each other in a classroom. But on the whole,
honestly, Jamie, she would not stop talking. I'm like, who is this girl?
You just gave up at a certain point.
Just let her talk.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, great choices and great advice. Look after yourselves, all writers out there. And just life advice, really look after yourself. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on the podcast and telling us all about the two of you, and also I Am in Print and everything that's going on there. It sounds really exciting.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you
asking
so much.
Us. It's really interesting to be on the other side of the table. I can tell you that. So now we know what it's like to be interviewed as well.
Yeah, it's so tempting to ask you lots of questions, Jamie.
Oh, no. I'll end the episode as soon as you ask me.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. If anyone would like to keep up with everything that's going on with Sarah and Elane, you can follow I Am in Print on all socials at I Am in Print, or head over to the website for the more detailed breakdowns of everything that's going on, iaminprint.co.uk. To make sure you don't miss an episode of this podcast, follow us on Twitter at Right and Wrong UK, or on Instagram and TikTok at Right and Wrong Podcast. Thanks again to Elane and Sarah, and thanks to everyone listening. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Spin your passion into a business with Shopify and break sales records with the world's best converting checkout. Let's hear that one more time. The world's best converting checkout. Shopify's legendary checkout makes it easier for customers to shop on your website, across social media, and everywhere in between. Now that's music to your ears. Any way you spin it, you can be a smash hit with Shopify. Start your $1 a month trial today at shopify.com/records.
O'Reilly.
You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.